It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
I see dead people.
Hot shit.
Here's Johnny.
Stop.
We have such sights to show you.
Bring the motherfucking ruckus.
Fuck you too!
I want to start the episode by saying, dude.
Don't just kid dude me.
Dude, it's been too long, and as you said, it's been a wild hiatus.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
What you been up to, my dude?
Oh my god. How do you even answer that after COVID? I got my job back. I'm a person now. That's about it.
You doing much content on the glitch blob ways?
Honestly, I've actually been fucking with a video as of recent because I felt bad that I just kind of like left it as is.
What you working on?
Just I don't know, just like some stupid like more of an explanation that I'm really learned Premiere to do animation and stuff like that.
Oh, that's dope.
So, but yeah, but now that I know the ways, but now I'm just like I really like doing game content. So like, why the fuck not? Just like. I was laughing my ass off when I was editing, so I mean, I'm all ready.
That's usually a good sign.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, that's really, nothing crazy. Just Denver life. It's a little bit crazy out here, but.
Oh, it's been crazy on both the coasts. Then it seems. The most recent thing that came out for us is I started putting out episodes of our most recent playthrough. I was going through Dead Space with all three Dead Spaces with Mr. Skellybones, and we're well on the way to seeing that adventure conclude before Halloween. So I hope everyone is enjoying that. That was recorded this last summer. So when we weren't actively doing anything for the show, when the podcast was on hiatus, this is what I was doing. I was recording the Dead Space series. I'm still fighting through 3 right now with Mr. Skellybones. We're about halfway through, I'd say, at the time of this recording. But 1 and 2 are all done, and I'm putting out 1 for Halloween this year.
Can I just say, slow clap for Dead Space in general? Fantastic game.
Slow clap for Dead Space. Yeah. I'm gonna say golf clap for Dead Space.
Yeah. Little Gryffindor clap. But yeah, I saw the I'm gonna butcher the name. I always forget it. The Two of Us, A Way Out.
A Way Out, yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic game though.
Very fun.
Just a lot of stupid random shit. Yeah.
Very fun.
You're just like, I'm naked for the 3rd time in the game, but it's fine.
I very thoroughly enjoyed playing through that with Deputy Dewey. It's something we talk about. I'm still in D&D with him, so I get to see him every week, but it's still something we fondly talk about because it was an experience. You know, that game's an experience.
Honestly, I would love to see you, like a few people do all of the dark stories anthology, whatever, like the Little Hope and
yeah.
I honestly just streamed on Discord to my girl and a few homies, and we were just like shouting out, fucking like, no, choose this, no, fuck you, don't do that, man. It was pretty fun, to be honest.
I am definitely going to do those at some point, because I own, what was the first one? Until Dawn.
Yeah.
I own that
it's
one.
It's technically not part of like the weird, whatever this new weird series is, but
the Dark Pictures, yeah.
Company, yeah.
And I haven't played the other 2 because when I watched the playthroughs, I thought they were retarded. I actually think Until Dawn is competent, whereas the other 2 are not.
I feel like in comparison, I didn't really care for Man and Medan. It's more of like a fun like B-rated horror movie night.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you start, you're like, oh, how is this? And like this weird like,
right.
fucking like
Creed.
terrible paranormal intro. Yeah. Basically, like
Creed starts to play,
and he's like,
and they
down this
expect you to be
ominous hallway and
scared.
shit. Yeah, it's super corny. You see, like, I literally lost my fucking shit when I saw this. Like, it was like they were trying to do like a La Llorona thing. I was like, no, stop doing it. Her head's like shaking back and forth, but it's just like clearly like it's just an overlay. I'm walking down the hallway. I was like, no, stop it.
Yeah.
But it's fun and terrible. Like, honestly, the screenshots that I've seen from Little Hope of I can't remember that dude actor, but he was in Bandersnatch.
Yes, Will Poulter.
Yeah.
Big fan of Will
there's just
Poulter,
so many,
and that's why I think Little Hope sucks ass.
Yeah, but exactly the same. It's like the fun, terrible. It's fun to play it, but I feel like if I was on the other side watching it, like as my homies, I'd be like, "What the fuck am I? What the fuck are you playing, dude?"
I know we're gonna play that at some point. I keep going back and forth on who I want to play those games with, because part of me thinks I should do Until Dawn with someone like Dr. Ankenstein, because I just think he would absolutely lose himself in those narrative decisions. And then part of me wants to do something terrible like Man of Medan with like Harold Heavy Hands, just to watch him just crumble.
Yeah.
Just to watch him crumble during the experience. Whereas I think someone like Terry would probably be best for Little Hope, because Little Hope is just a miserable experience.
Yeah, it very much is. Really, there's not really an upbringing. There's all just nonsense.
Right. And a lot of it is just really bad Silent Hill bullshit.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that.
No. Man of Medan is Ghost Ship, and
exactly.
And Little Hope is Silent Hill, which is why it's garbage.
The same exact words, yeah.
Yeah.
Because like even like back in the I would say back in the day when I was in high school, I was like, oh, Centralia, PA.
Right.
I was like over on the east. You know what I'm saying? I was living in New York at the time, and I was like physically went, and there was like some fucking random guy selling like coal and shit. But that's like the original Silent Hill site.
Right.
I'm like so obsessed with Silent Hill. So like when I was seeing this fucking game, I'm just like, oh, so you're Tom Welling in the Mist? What is what the fuck is happening?
That's a good one.
Oh fuck.
Yeah,
just not a set of an ending.
So I know those are on the list, and I'm also doing the Telltale Walking Dead. Those are happening.
Yeah, so you definitely said a slow burn, and I definitely agree with you. It's definitely a fun game, but like, damn, there's a lot of just nonsense.
You're
so
gonna make
filler.
some pretty inconsequential decisions there, bud. that's the experience. Is that the narrative?
There is no happiness. Do you want to kill them or kill them?
It makes you think that there's choice involved, but there really isn't. It tells the same story regardless of your decision. It's just someone's dead the other times. So there's you learn the transient life of what it feels like to exist in a what the guy who made Walking Dead, I forget his name, Kirkman. You get to experience what it's like in Kirkman's graphic novel a little bit, because it is leagues
realistic.
above the TV show, but incredibly accurate to the graphic novel experience.
Okay. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I've actually never played I started reading the graphic novel and I kind of fell off, but I've never actually read.
I watched the Whisper War.
Game.
I read up to the Whisper War, and when I was done and they started to introduce more bad guys, I was like, no, like the Whisper War was like, we cleared out like a state, like no one's gonna fuck with us anymore. We become a solidified front. That's the end of the story. There doesn't need to be anything more to Walking Dead. The idea
TV has to have everything.
The idea is that you're 10 years into the apocalypse and you're telling me corpses are still a problem. Seriously, you're on season like 13 right now, aren't you? Like it needs to It needs to end because a zombie apocalypse would not last that long. They would eat everyone like within a year. Anyone who wasn't eaten just, pilfers off, and then slowly the dead just like disappear overnight because they stop having sources of food. And they just literally continue to decay as they move, which just promotes that they're going to fall apart.
So I do have to say, on the zombie genre in general, on the topic of, I'm not a huge fan of, but there's like certain things like Train to Busan or like
Shaun of the Dead.
Later. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's just I don't even know if I even consider that a zombie movie. It's just fucking hilarious. I know that like so people would like scream at me for this, but like I don't know. I just feel like it's hard to do like a zombie like correctly, and if it's practical effects, like is it good practical effects or is it like?
Well, what type of zombie fan are you? Because you just mentioned what I would consider like rage-based zombies.
See, I feel like that's like what you got to go for though.
I prefer the slow slamber, the slow kind of shambling corpses that just come up out of the ground.
Well, because there's also so many like sources from that too. It's like, you know what I'm saying, like, is it a virus? Is this like some voodoo
That's true.
shit? You know what I'm saying, like
that's true.
Because I feel like it's just such a different thing now.
In
Like
28 Days Later and Train to
be.
Busan, it's absolutely like a virus.
Mm-hmm.
In Walking Dead, it's just affecting the dead. If you get bit, you don't immediately turn. You slowly die, and when you're dead, you turn.
Well, like, even God forbid I bring this up, but like Last of Us, like I really enjoyed like the fungi stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that was just more of a realistic aspect of it. But
Totally.
Like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like it just something that unfortunately has just been done so many millions and billions of times. It's just
Terribly
like,
true.
bodies,
I am very excited for that TV show adaptation. Very happy that very happy with the cast. HBO. They casted and they greenlit Last of Us.
Oh, I forgot about that. Honestly, I secretly just keep thinking that things are lies because like the Cowboy Bebop like live action, and I'm scared of it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I have secret hope for Cowboy Bebop.
I mean, I'm not saying that I don't have my fingers crossed.
It's my favorite anime, and part of me thinks that because it's not super serious, that it could actually be pretty good.
Honestly, I'm just hoping
like Sweet Home was okay. I don't know if you watched that, and Alice in Borderland was an okay adaptation too.
I have not seen that, but it looks really good actually.
Both of them were pretty good compared to their source material. So like, I can believe that they're getting better at doing that.
I'm just scared from I was just doing better. Thank you. I'm just scared from when I was like, oh yeah, I'll totally watch these, and I started with Death Note. I was like, why am I alive?
Death Note's really bad. Yeah, Death Note was really bad.
I just like every time I'm still gonna have like Dragon Ball Evolutions.
Oh no.
It's just
no, we don't
trauma.
We don't talk about that.
It's a built-in trauma.
And then you go and you watch something like Shang-Chi or Kung Fu Hustle, and you're like, Dragon Ball is absolutely possible. You just need someone who is a fan of the show to fucking do it. You can't have someone who's never seen the source material try to adapt it. You just can't.
I mean, honestly, I was just like, my girl has this film class. She's been like watching like fucking like Enter the Dragon and shit. I'm like, yo,
totally.
Fucking, yo, that's what I'm saying. That's a fucking we could do this right here, right now.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, man, we've been getting into a lot of shit. I know that my list is like ever growing, and I know that it's ever expanding. I just have to like. That's what I'm doing during my hiatuses. Like, I'm going to take more breaks moving forward because I want to play more games. I want to build more content on the YouTube. That means that the podcast needs to kind of, like, back off in some more months during the year. I'm still going to do as much as I can. I just think I'm cutting the seasons in half for the time being.
What are you saying, boys
in
and girls, is editing
exchange,
takes a long time.
right? No, that's really it. In
For
exchange,
real.
you get the Dead Space trilogy within a year. You know, like that's like 20 some episodes. You know, and that I feel like that's an accomplishment. So
that's kind of why I took a little break, because I literally don't have the time anymore.
oh, podcast editing is a very passive nature. Editing a video game is not
Aggressive. Yeah.
not at all.
Aggressive.
I'm very lazy with Dead Space. If I'm not
Excuse me.
entirely like on board with what I'm watching, I might jump ahead a little bit, but you're not gonna notice it.
I'm so meticulous
I
with
pretty
that
much
shit. I'm
do
like,
as
there's downtime, I'm
classic.
like, nah.
Yeah, I pretty much do as classic of a Let's Play as I could have, which is like edit nothing except for like the things that suck and the things that take forever. Like,
Yeah.
you know, keep the narrative moving, and it's pretty much just us talking as Dead Space plays out. Like, we have very active commentary, but we also just talk about anything, like the podcast. So if you like the podcast, go check
Very
us out
podcasty.
playing Dead Space on YouTube. You know, subscribe to us over there, like our shit, keep it rolling. Because I have so much more to come out, and if you don't like it, I'm gonna kill myself. So
Aggressive.
I only have one volume, and it's 11.
Just give
So-
him a like and he'll be happy.
Si-
You know,
no,
push that
like
button.
I just play things because I want to see them played, and I feel like it's entertaining for me. If people like watching it, that's cool. If they don't, I don't really care. That's kind of the point, is I'm doing it largely for myself. And I just hope that there are other people that enjoy our commentary and would want to see a game like that played, and that's where you and I connect. We meet in the middle of that street and we hold hands for a little bit.
That's where we hang out.
Anyway, enough about my shit. Do you know what we're doing today?
A little spicy things.
Well,
Carolina Reapers.
well,
Wait, no, hot. Not hot. But
it's
spicy.
not hot, but it is spicy. Do
I'm scared.
you know anything about the prior like 5 episodes of this
Honestly,
like series?
So I even like ding ding beep boop bop went to the mainframe, Google, you know, typed in not hot but spicy, but I actually haven't even been able to look. But like your videos and like podcasts are like right up there for that not hot but spicy if you Google it, just saying. But no, I haven't actually had time to like revisit those. It's been quite some time since I've even experienced them the first time.
So the breakdown is thus. There was a forum in the old like MySpace pre-Zanga days where people would just log into a forum and tell spooky or funny stories. And I cataloged probably half of them. The shorter ones, the wittier ones. The longer ones were just like they would take a couple episodes to tell, and I just didn't want to do that with this type of medium, because like what if the story just sucks? Like, you know, it's not creepypasta, it's not No Sleep, it's not someone who sat down and said I'm gonna write something today. It's a dude telling a fucking story online in 2004. You can read 19 fucking pages and it'll like lead up to a fart joke. Like, that's the internet. That's the early internet forum days. So Not Hot But Spicy is just a no holds barred early snapshot of pre-Facebook like forum days, and this is specifically a forum where people would log in, certain users who knew about this would log in and try to tell fun frightening, scary, humorous, what have you, stories. And I've read these with a bunch of baby ducks. I've read these with Tom Bombadil. I've read these with my brothers Spum and Cum. I'm very excited to have Glitch Blob here to join us for a Not Hot Spicy episode, because we have no fucking clue what's going to happen. That is the appeal of Not Hot but Spicy. If I were to sit down and say, Glitch, we're gonna do unsettling stories right now, all of us have a preconceived notion. It's gonna be body horror, it's gonna be gross out horror, it's gonna be like watching Toxic Avenger.
Yo.
If I were to say we're reading creepypastas, it would be fun, it would be thrilling, it would be maybe horror, maybe a little bit silly, but it'll be like watching a schlocky B flick, you know, like fucking Malignant or something. If I were to say we're reading No Sleep, you know, it's like your thrillers, it's like your slow burns, it's like your art house horrors, it's like your Mandy's, it's like your fucking like Hereditary, you know, like that type of shit. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But that's basically the slices of the pie. You know what this is? Do you know what Not Hot but Spicy is most comparable to? It's either going to be like we're reading Goosebumps, watching Scary Movie.
I see.
It's either reading Goosebumps, watching Scary Movie, or like watching an M. Night Shyamalan flick.
Go do it.
You have so many different ways you can go, and you have no idea how it's going to end, and what a twist.
Okay. I mean, at least I just immediately am thinking of like the Big Toast weird scary story book, whatever the fuck. I can't remember this now. Scary stories
to tell in the dark, right?
Yeah, I just for some reason always just remember the Big Toe, so that's what I'm connecting this with. So we're gonna talk about
this. Is absolutely like Big Toe. Do you know what one of the first stories I remember reading on Not Hot but Spicy? It's called.
No, please.
It was like The Ghost Pot, and it was literally just a story about a teapot that like moved around a kitchen, and someone was like, "That's it." And, like, the story has no conclusion. It's just this guy who's like, my aunt once had a pot that moved around a kitchen, the end. Like, and me and a bunch of baby ducks just looked at each other and we just, like, chef kiss, you know? Like, beauty. This is art.
Perfect.
You know?
Would hang up in a gallery. Okay. Alright. That makes me more prepared.
And we're jumping into Not Hot but Spicy today, which is like, you find a homeless man who jumps out of an alleyway as you're walking home drunkenly from the bar, and you're not sure if he's gonna punch you in the face, rob you, or kiss you.
He actually gives you $100. Runs away.
He gives you the ingredients to the everlasting gobstopper. So we're gonna read the Not Hot but Spicy. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start based off of the first title we're looking at here?
I think you should start.
I'm okay with that, honestly.
My beer. I'm just gonna like hang out.
You're just gonna accept this real quick.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna jump in with a cannonball called Army Man. We don't have an author. This guy literally was not like a user of the website. He didn't want to be known for this. He logged in one day, said Army Man, and then pasted this. All right, so I'm gonna jump into this.
Okay, I believe in you.
During my senior year of high school, I got a job working at a large department store that I will not name. But if you think for even a half a second about a large American discount department store, you could probably guess what it was. I ended up working in the deli. You know how things go when you first get plopped down into a group of people who've known each other for a long time. It's pretty uncomfortable. because they have lots of in-jokes or catchphrases that you have no hope in hell of understanding. And that's what I thought the Army Man was. An in-joke. You see, whenever there was some sort of accident, like, say, a woman working in bakery knocked over a stack of boxes, or one of my coworkers in deli dropping an entire 8-piece chicken on the floor on the way to the fryer, it was customary to jokingly grumble, the Army Man did it, and then restack the boxes or throw away the chicken or whatever.
No, Mark. You just dropped a whole fucking 8-piece chicken.
What you don't know is the joke is that there's a guy who with no legs who sits in the back. He was in Vietnam and he just yells at everybody all day.
I was seeing like sitting on a scooter, just like poking people with a mop.
It's Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah, just poking people with a fucking mop.
Hey!
You make me drop the goddamn chicken again.
I never bothered asking for an explanation, since the only thing that makes you feel more of a loser than not getting an in-joke is asking everyone what an in-joke is all about. Well, after a while, though, I began to understand a little of what the crack meant. Sometimes whenever anyone blamed something on the Army Man, they would put their arms out in front of them and do a sort of pantomime of an on-your-belly under barbed wire boot camp crawl.
It's a lot of dashes.
I took this to mean that there was an imaginary soldier crawling around on the floor of the store, causing all sorts of elfish mishaps, or some past joke to this effect had spawned whatever meme my coworkers were perpetuating.
Dude, we're right.
I'd been working for a few months when I finally decided to ask what the Army Man was all about. And I was in the break room when one of my coworkers, let's call her Betty, happened to go on lunch. She was about my mom's age and took a motherly interest in my current affairs, so she asked me about my grades and if I'd been accepted to any colleges, all that jazz. I humored her while she ate, and then about 5 minutes before my break ended, I asked her about the Army Man. Betty froze up, completely. Holding her lips really tight and just shook her head, she refused to say anything about the subject, and not even trying to be subtle about it. But Betty was always one for melodrama. I mean, Betty had made the joke along with everyone else. I didn't understand why she wouldn't talk about it now unless she was being intentionally childish. So I dropped the subject and went back to work. A few days later, I was in the break room again when Ruth, one of the women working in bakery, happened by. This time she brought up the subject with me, asking if I'd spoken to Betty about the Army Man. I figured it wouldn't make any sense to say otherwise, so I said that I had, and that Betty had refused to say anything about it. Ruth just nodded and said, "Well, you know how Betty is." When I said that I didn't, Ruth held her hands in front of her like she was praying and began to flap her lips in a silent imitation of prayer. Well, Betty was an ardent Pentecostal, I knew, and instead of swearing, had a habit of yelling out, "Help me, Jesus!" when she got hot grease on her hand. But what this meant she didn't talk about the Army Man, I had no clue. So Ruth explained. Sometime the year before, one of the unloaders working third shift had been moving pallets into the large freezer where we kept all the frozen goods that weren't on the shelves. It was common practice to keep the freezer door open for most of the night while the unloaders took stuff from the truck and moved it in. This particular unloader had surprised his coworkers when they found him outside the freezer with the door slammed shut. When they tried to open it, he begged them not to, and when they ignored him, he tried to fight them away. Okay. At first, they thought it was a joke, but soon it became obvious that this guy was desperate for them to not open the freezer door. He refused to tell them exactly what had happened. From the way he talked about it, it sounded like he'd seen an animal sneak into the freezer. Though why, goddamn Tasmanian devil, though why this would freak him out, they couldn't guess. They got the managers on duty that night, explained the situation, and against the unloader's protest, ventured into the freezer. There was nothing in there but boxes, though a few of them had been pulled down from their shelves and smashed, ruining quite a bit of merchandise. The unloader was fired, since it was assumed he'd done something wrong and was trying to shift the blame onto someone else. But before he left for good, he worked a few more days, Ruth told me. And it was during this time he mentioned to some coworkers exactly what he had seen. A shape like a man on his stomach, naked and pale, just disappearing between the plastic flaps that hung down over the freezer door.
Just too fast.
It's just too furious. Of course, the unloader could have mistaken a reflection in those same plastic sheets for whatever it was he claimed to have seen, so he was just generally laughed at even after he was fired. It became harder to joke when other people began to see and hear it, though. It was just snatches of conversation you might pick up, Ruth told me. The women working the returns desk, for instance, would mention that they thought they heard someone on the floor on the other side of the counter, but since they couldn't see anything, it must have been something on the floor, but they didn't bother looking, because, of course, it was nothing. Cashiers had similar stories of hearing something move through their checkout lane, even though there were no customers, something too low on the ground to be glimpsed over the edge of the counter. Coupled with the description the unloader had given, this was when people began to think of the thing as a person trying to be covert, pulling himself around on his stomach by use of his forearms. This is why they started calling it the Army Man.
Every time that I hear a description of him, I literally just see, like, Lieutenant Dan just on his fucking arms, just moving hella fast across the floor like a motherfucker.
I'm thinking more about, like, Danny DeVito just crawling around on his stomach now.
Can I offer you an egg in these trying times?
Betty saw it in the deli. We had a hot case, a metal plexiglass display where we put warm food such as chicken and what have you under heat lamps. The top half of the case was filled with pans of food, french fries and so forth, that we served to customers, while the bottom half was filled with boxed 8 pieces and rotisseries that the customers could grab on their own. Well, one night, while closing, Betty had bent down to clean the glass windows on the section of the hot case, and she screamed her all-purpose curse, "Help me, Jesus," before promptly tumbling back on her ass and twisting her ankle.
Rough.
At first, the people working with her thought that she'd just slipped, since the deli floor was covered in grease pretty much all the time. Betty was having trouble standing up again, so they called in management, who quickly arranged a way to transport Betty to the hospital. And while they waited, Betty explained to them what she saw on the other side of the glass, out on the floor of the store. It had been a thing looking back at her. That was what she called it. Ruth told me, not a man, but a thing. Betty was out of commission while her leg healed up. It wasn't broken, just twisted monstrously bad. And after a few weeks of general annoyances, a guy working in electronics insisted he'd seen someone crawling around on the merchandise shelves at the back of the department. Thinking it was a customer's kid, he ran over to straighten them out, just as a few plasma TVs were knocked over and shattered. When he told management his story, they of course didn't believe him. There was barely enough room on the shelves for the TVs themselves, let alone a person, child or not.
Yeah, bro, you're breaking TVs over here.
He was fired. Not like there's cameras or anything to show that this wasn't the case. 4 months or so before I started working, one of the mechanics in automotive refused to let a customer take their car back. The customer was naturally pissed and had called the department manager named Rick. As the mechanic later told anyone who would listen, he'd been working on the customer's car when he had to take a leak. Upon returning, he'd seen things like fingers poking out from the vehicle's undercarriage, curled around the bumper, but they withdrew before he could do anything. He searched the car and found nothing, but when the customer came back, he still had his doubts about letting the automobile leave the garage. He laid out the situation privately for Rick, who volunteered to test drive the car first and explained it away to the customer as some new quality control.
Yeah, so we put the grudge in your fucking car. Have a great day.
See you later.
Yeah.
Rick drove 15 feet into the parking lot before one of the front wheels of the car let out a groan and fell off completely. Needless to say, Rick was very much embarrassed, and there was a tangle of usual insurance issues with the customer blaming the store for tampering with the car. And somehow this was all settled out of court.
What the fuck just happened?
Rick killed himself 2 months after the accident,
Well, there you go.
though no one could say why. He hadn't seemed particularly depressed, and he'd been working as hard as ever, but one night he went home, and from what Ruth had overheard, overdosed on sleeping pills. Ruth had her own ideas, of course. The army man had gotten into the car with the intention of leaving the store, but Rick had foiled its plans, and so instead of following the customer home, it chose to follow him home instead.
Dun, dun, dun.
This naturally raised more questions than it answered. What the hell was the army man then, and how had it gotten to the store to begin with? And Ruth just shook her head and said something like, "Don't ask me, I just bake French bread." And that was it.
God
I
damn it,
quit
Ruth.
Delhi. I quit Delhi a few months later to head off to college. In the intervening time, I had begun to wonder why people continued to joke about the army man, if it had ever existed in the first place, and if it was half as serious as Ruth made it out to be. Was it just some way of relieving stress, trying to make it seem less important than it really was, or were they fucking with me? In time, it occurred to me that if Ruth was right, if the army man could somehow pass between people and places, then there was a chance, however small, that it might come back to the store, or worse, that Rick had brought it back before he killed himself. And if either of those things had happened, it could leave again, with someone else. Perhaps it was done out of fear, as a superstition. I'd been doing it too, I realized. It was just part of the atmosphere of the deli, part of working with people for an extended period of time. You adopt their references, their in-jokes, their memes. I work in the campus library currently. It's quiet, but I've never heard anything whispering across the carpeted floor. However, when I'm not paying attention while stacking books on a cart, a practice that inevitably leads to a bunch of them falling over, or when the network goes on the fritz and we can't figure out why, I often find myself muttering, "The army man did it." I think a few of my coworkers have overheard me, because they've started to say it too.
God damn it, Ruth. Do you know what tulpas are?
Yeah, unknown author knows exactly what a tulpa is and tells the story just the right way. I actually very enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was actually fun.
That was a fun little fable right there. It's
near the end.
believable enough to be something like better
Yeah.
than no sleep.
Little like work urban legend kind of thing going on.
Right, but not written well enough to be like a fictional story.
Yeah, facts. Like, Jimmy tells you in the back, and you're like, "You're fucking stupid." And you're like, "Then why is fucking Mark always throwing the goddamn chicken all over the fucking place?" Think about it, man. You're like, oh my god. But definitely near the end, I thought like a little Henry Zabrowski is just like, like a little green suit, just like fucking shit up.
Oh, here I am. Don't mind me. I'm just sliding around.
I could do that for days.
Next story is by author Mayday Mayday.
This sounds better.
And they're telling a fun story with two names called Anna and Marmalade. I love the word
terrible.
marmalade. It's jam and butter.
It's so lighthearted. I'm more concerned.
Yeah, Army Man is a little inherently like frightening.
Yeah, no. As soon as I read the first page, like just skimming the first page prior, I'm like, let's see how this fucking goes.
Yeah, totally. Do you want to take Anna and Marmalade?
Yeah. Let's do this. I mean,
Go for it.
Don't make it sound like that. God, sounds like I'm taking on Marmaduke over here. When I was about 10, my friend Anna's parents came into a little money, and she moved into a lovely old neighborhood by the sea. The house was a pretty little Victorian place with a combed porch and a gabled attic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. And thick glass in all the windows. It looked sort of charming in a quirky, crooked way. Very peaceful, too. Despite being on a major road, it was always almost completely silent inside. I mean, really. There's good insulation, and then there's Mom is blending stuff in the kitchen, Dad is using a power drill in the garage, and it's absolutely quiet upstairs. It sort of seemed absorbed sound. That's what it says.
Yeah, you're fine. You got to remember these are just random blog posts.
Yeah. No, for sure. I want to let everybody know.
It sort of seemed absorb sound.
It sort of seems to absorb sounds. And the windows had those thick old panes that turned all the light faded and pale, even during the day. It was always entirely quiet. I later think it reminded me of a hospital after hours, but that might have been just hindsight. You felt completely alone in that house, even if you knew that there was someone right around the corner, and there were loads of corners. The house seemed to have been built by someone with a hatred of straight lines, with almost every hallway changing direction at least once. The electricity was terrible. The lights flickered and buzzed all over the place. So they were almost left off, and it had heating issues too. Radiators had stick on and off at the worst times, and you need to be fixed with a wrench. And need to be fixed with a wrench. You don't need to be fixed with a wrench. Nonetheless, it was a beautiful house. Anna's parents called some electricians about the wiring, and they moved straight in. Anna moved into the attic and loved it immediately. I had pretty floral wallpaper and a sloping roof and a window that looked out over the sea, and a wrought iron bed frame, which couldn't be removed from the room. There was no electric light in the attic anyway, so she wasn't bothered by the constant flickering, and if it got too hot or too cold due to the malfunctioning radiators, she just opened the window or put on a sweater. She loved that room. Back then, Anna had this little orange cat called Marmalade.
What a name.
And he was just about her favorite thing in the world. He was 2, maybe 3 years old. And she'd been given him as a Christmas present. He was a pretty sweet cat, I have to say, friendly and chill and generally uncat-like. I didn't accidentally click. Never scratched anyone, never yelled or shredded furniture, slept in the end of the bed every night, curled up in a little ball, looking adorable. Or he had anyway, in her old house.
Oh,
He
no.
absolutely refused to go up the stairs in the new place. Like he turned into a little ball of fur. If you tried to carry him up, and if you put... I threw myself off. And you put an open tin of cat food on the top step, he would just sit at the bottom, looking at it forlornly. It took ages for Anna's family to get him in the house at all. Actually, but eventually, he was coaxed into the kitchen, and then the living room, and so on. By the 3rd week, after they moved in, he was pretty comfortable on the ground floor, but he still wouldn't go upstairs to Anna's room. Wouldn't go to Anna's room. For love of fish-shaped kibble snacks. Worse, he started to shy away from Anna herself, and this was a cat that liked strangers. If he was in the room and she came in, he'd skitter away. If she accidentally cornered him, he'd hunker down and put his ears back and watched her with huge eyes. It was as if she'd taken to kicking him or something. Obviously, this just about broke her heart. She loved that cat like her tiny orange child, I swear. Just like she loved Marmalade. And then one day, in early summer, Marmalade disappeared.
No.
To this day, this is one of the things people remember about Anna. When they remember her, anytime someone mentions Anna Anderson, someone else says, "Ha ha ha, remember when Marmalade went missing." What a dig. She must have called everyone she knew. She put up posters on telephone poles. She made her mom drive around to the local vets to see if anybody had turned in an injured cat. She called me late at night. Well, late enough for a 10-year-old anyway. and tell me her theories about what happened to poor Marmalade. This went on for days, until basically everyone knew the cat was not coming home, except Anna. We tried to hint that maybe he was gone for good. Maybe she would go look at kittens at the SPCA or something, but she said she knew he'd come back eventually. She called me at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night in secret. I had to come over quick and pretend she hadn't called. She was grounded. Her parents didn't believe her, but she knew where Marmalade was. He was in the walls. Sorry, I think
Nice.
I heard like fireworks or something going on outside. I was like, what the hell?
No, it's just a cat in your walls.
Yo, facts though. Okay, that actually concerned me for a second. She started hearing the scratching a night or two before, and from the first, she knew it was Marmalade. He must have found some hole in the roof or fallen down inside. Anna knew it was him. She'd immediately told her parents, but said she was imagining things, and they weren't going to knock holes in her new house looking for a cat that had probably been dead for a week. Anna had shouted at them, screamed, but they just told her to get a hold of herself. I had to come over right away. I was pretty skeptical myself, and it was the sort of girl who might just imagine noises. And if there was something in her wall, it was probably a huge vicious rat or a squirrel or something. I didn't want to tell her that though. I dutifully got on my bike, in secret of course, and rode over to Anna's house. Maybe it was just because I was now imagining the huge nest of rats swarming into Anna's wall, but by the time I tiptoed halfway up the back stairs at her house, I was already uneasy. The back door was directly under the attic window, and all the hair prickled on the back of my neck as I climbed. I had the very distinct feeling that someone was standing directly behind me, on a lower stair, and it made my shoulders twitch. I quietly unlatched the door. It was unlocked as promised, and stepped in the dark, silent house. It was a harrowing experience just getting to the narrow attic staircase. All those blind corners, the crooked hallways, everything absolutely still, absolutely silent. With every step, I was more certain that someone was going to grab my ankle.
The army
Or that
man.
I'd see, Lieutenant Dan!
Come here, kid. Get over here.
Near at the end of the hallway. It was a strange, oppressive silence. It's funny how you don't notice all the little noises in the house. The clock's ticking and the refrigerator humming and the tiniest creaks of floorboards until you can't hear anything at all. The radiators must have been on the fritz again too, because it was all hot as hell, and it smelled of absolutely nothing. Not new paint, or hot radiators, or even old houses. It smelled unnatural, like the absence of a smell. It was like being blind or deaf, and senseless, except for the heat. When I got to the attic stairs, I paused for a moment. The stairs were a single long, narrow flight, with a door at the bottom and the top. They were unlit, with no railings. The top door was shut tightly. Even compared to the rest of the house, they were dark. I couldn't reasonably run up them full tilt without waking Anna's parents, even though surely the house would muffle the sound. But I still felt as though someone was standing right behind me, and I had to steel myself for slow. Sorry. I just want to make sure that's like...
You read it correctly.
Methodical climbing, almost sure I could feel hot breath on the back of my neck.
I hate that shit.
Fingers brushing at the small of my back. The stairs were dark and steep. I took a deep breath and then suddenly moved into the dark halfway up the steps. I swear I screamed, but no sounds came out of my mouth. It was like screaming into a vacuum. And then Anna's voice said, "I'm glad you came." Incredibly quiet. The shadowy shape on the stairs revolved into her, sitting sideways with her knees drawn up, her long dark hair falling over her face. She was wearing a nightdress, navy blue, pulled down over her feet, which is, I guess, why I hadn't seen her. I let out a huge sigh of relief. I was so relieved that I didn't even think about how odd it was for a 10-year-old girl to be sitting on a closed staircase in the pitch black with the door shut.
Yeah, what a weirdo.
Like, facts. Like, guy, here.
Hello?
Can you just get out of that fucking room?
Good night.
I followed Anna up to her dark room, much more relaxed. If it had been hot in the house below, it was sweltering up here. The window was open, but no breeze came in. Within a 30 seconds, I'd start to sweat, and the whole place felt like a dry sauna. There was no electricity in the attic, as I mentioned, but Anna had a flashlight on her night table, pointed up at the ceiling to cast a steady, sick glow over the whole room. She sat down on the edge of the bed, and even in the low light, I could see she looked awful, exhausted, sick, dripping with sweat. Her bedsheets were tangled and tossed, and one of her pillows was on the floor. There were long red marks on her arms and legs, crisscrossed and uneven. I wanted to ask her what was wrong, but the instant I opened my mouth, she shushed me. Wait, she said. So we waited. It took about 2 minutes for the scratching to start, but there was no mistaking it once it did. It didn't sound like a cat at all. It sounded like fingernails on cloth, like a person scratching at a sore. Faster than slower, occasionally pausing entirely and then starting up again, quicker than ever. You know, I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I forgot about the cat.
No, you can't forget about Marmalade.
There was a sort of rustling sound that went with it, which didn't sound like anything at all. It started in the far wall, by the door to the stairs, but it didn't stay there. It circled the room, moving under the bed, slowly coming towards us. I jumped off the bed, but Anna stayed where she was. And now I noticed that she was scratching too, in time with the scratching the walls, idly rubbing at the welts on her hands and feet. I wanted to grab her hands and stop her, but I was too shocked to do anything. The scratching was directly behind her now. She reached out and put a palm against the wall, right where the noise was coming from. She looked up at me with blank eyes. "It's Marmalade," she said. "We have to let him out." I don't know what's in the wall there, but luckily, I never had to find out. Just then, Anna's dad came bursting up from the stairs, looking frantic. He grabbed me by the shoulders and shoved me into the stairwell, muttering that I shouldn't be there. But I still saw what happened next. It was like a bubble of silence popped. Then, and the heat, and even the absence of smell, I could suddenly smell iodine, incredibly strong. Anna flew at him, shrieking, scratching at his face with her ragged fingernails, clawing and tearing. I think she might have tried to bite him, but I'm not sure. She was sobbing and red-eyed, screaming about how it wasn't fair, and she'd done nothing to deserve it. At first I thought she was talking about being grounded, but then it all stopped making sense. She was shrieking about how she didn't want to die, and she was lonely, and it wasn't fair that she was the last one left. God. It was a full-on fit, kicking and punching and wailing animalistic. For a while, I thought she was going to overpower her father, a tall and well-built man. I wondered if I should call the police, but eventually, he got her back onto the bed, and she flung herself down, weeping and sobbing. He ran for the door and slammed it behind him, turning a key in the lock and putting it in his pocket. Then he turned to me. "Anna's not well," he said. You shouldn't have unlocked the door."
Yeah, this is information I could have used yesterday.
Oh my fucking god. Of course I hadn't unlocked the door. I didn't even have the key. And Anna had been out of the room before I'd even arrived. Jesus Christ. But I was also so traumatized that I didn't even think about that. I just turned around and walked straight out of the house. Yo, good man. Get the fuck out. You get a scary moment, just get the fuck out. Just leave.
That is
You're
my
like, basement?
best
No,
recommendation.
out. I thought about calling social services. Jesus fucking Christ. But in the end, I thought Anna was far more aggressive than her father, who was clearly trying not to hurt her. Fever dreams, I thought. She was having fever dreams.
Huh.
I tried not to think about the scratching I heard so clearly. I never went back to that house. Though I saw Anna when I started school in the fall. The scratches on her hands were entirely healed. She told me eventually that she'd moved into the downstairs guest bedroom, and her parents had shut up the attic. She seemed very distant when she told me. We grew apart. Years later, I saw a photo of Anna's house in the local newspaper. It seemed that the new owner, one in a series, had opened up a papered over crawl space, nearly a room in an attic, and discovered an old trunk full of dresses and pressed flowers, and a small box. At the bottom of that box marked bandages, pox. Why it hadn't been burned and who lived in that house and who died there, I don't know. But I still remember the smell of iodine and the sound of scratching and the stillness in the dark downstairs. Oh, and he found one other thing. Quite mysteriously, a cat's collar with a bell. No one had any idea how it got there, since the crawl space was sealed tight. It had been trapped in there when the room was shut up, sometime in the 19th century. There's no other explanation.
That one, I kept trying to see where it was going. I kept trying to guess, like, what the conclusion was going to be. And I guess there really isn't one. It's just an experience someone had.
Ghost cat, crazy girl?
I have a feeling that it might have been like a psychological connection, definitely. Like,
Yeah.
the girl missed the cat so much that she almost, like, emulated it when in situations of serious stress or trauma.
Okay, now there actually totally is fireworks going outside. What the fuck is today? Why does Denver do this? It's like a fucking. I mean, I guess it's a Friday. Fuck me. Okay.
Yeah. No, I live next to a baseball stadium. They do that shit every week in the fall as well. That one was interesting. I'm not gonna say it was bad. It was okay. I wish it had a point.
Yeah, I agree. It was a nice build up, and I was like, oh shit, what the fuck is happening? I was like, oh, she's just crazy. Oh, okay.
I wanted it to have payoff. There was a lot of setup and very little payoff, I think. Which is fine. You know, sometimes stories can just be stories.
Yeah,
you know?
mean, I've definitely heard worse. Like, Jesus.
Yeah,
no, yeah,
so,
I like the build up. Anything like a psychological thing, I'm always like, that's like a fun. Because then you're like, oh fuck, what is it? What did happen? But there's
well, they don't
really
even tell you what happened to the cat. Was it back there? Was it in the wall? Who knows? Crazy girl. Like, that's the story.
Yeah. I know. I was kind of hoping there would be a little bit more followed, because like that's exactly what you like about the psychological shit. You're like, is this real or is this not?
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm sorry. This is very differentiated. Have you seen Night House?
Night House.
Yes. No. Okay.
No.
It just came out in theaters. If you like psychological stuff and like crazy, like mental, like you don't know what the fuck is real, yo.
You recommend this? I take by the noises you're making.
God. Oh my god.
Night House.
I feel like this.
Where does one watch Night House?
I believe it's been in theaters for a minute, but it should be available for your local streaming services.
Who is in the Night House?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know.
Oh, okay, it's an indie.
I'm just the worst at that shit. I didn't really recognize anybody actually.
Okay,
or I'm just the
that's
worst
fair
at
enough.
recognizing people.
I'm putting it in the list.
But for a fun little mind fuck with you.
If you want to trade recommendations, trade recommendations, fun little mind fuck for you. The Empty Man.
Okay. Honestly, that's actually on like.
Check out The Empty Man. It's on HBO Max.
Okay.
It had a limited theatrical release. I think the first 15 minutes are gold. The next 2 hours are a psychological drama. It's everything I wanted the Slender Man movie to be.
Okay, I see. All right, interesting.
So
all right,
go into it with that exception. You know,
okay.
Go into it with that knowledge. I recommend that to everyone listening. Very solid. Very solid film. Looks great, acted great, lots of fun little moments, lots of fun things I still carry with me even now, even though I watched it a while ago. Very, very fun horror movie. One of the more fun experiences I've had recently.
Okay.
All right.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna hop into Shaniqua, which is Sean Iqua, Seaniqua.
Yeah, I don't think I can say that.
Shaniqua. Shaniqua wants to talk about a haunted hay rack, which might be fun.
Where the fuck this is going.
Which might be fun. You never know. Haunted hay rack. We're about that time. You know, it's almost Halloween. I hope you're going on your haunted hay rides. You know, your local community haunted hay rides.
Yeah, now the get your non-COVID hay rides there.
I did it. I feel like I did it 2 years ago. I already have plans to do it again in like a week. So yeah.
Honestly, right before COVID started, like literally like the month of, me and some homies went to a Valentine's Day haunted house.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that we all got COVID the first time there, so that was fun.
Gnarly. Great story.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, beginning of the story. That was all.
That was Not Hot But Spicy, brought to you by Glacier Lab.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't post it on MySpace.
Shaniqua, haunted hay rack. This is true. I have changed the names. I grew up in Nebraska, in a rural community an hour south of Omaha. My friends and I really enjoyed Halloween. Around fall, it was usually John, Justin, Brandon, and I that would hang out. It was weird, because outside of Halloween time, we weren't really close friends. We all just had a soft spot for the fall season, and Halloween especially, so we would find time to cause mischief that our own parents didn't know about. In elementary school, we would dress up and trick-or-treat just like the other kids. We'd sit around, tell ghost stories, watch Freddy Krueger movies we weren't supposed to, and generally be scared shitless. In middle school, we moved to the classic small-town practice of scaring kids who were trick-or-treating. It was generally all innocent stuff, hiding behind bushes, following kids silently, then disappearing, the usual. This was more or less a way to hide the fact that we still wanted to get candy from houses, because we did that too. In high school, it got a little out of hand. Our freshman year was to the last Halloween of hijinks, and we didn't have anything out of the ordinary planned. It was just supposed to be one of the last chances for the four of us to hang out and get candy. Unfortunately, that's not all that happened. Justin's parents got a divorce the previous year. Again, we weren't really close, so we didn't talk to him about it. The rest of us knew he was having anger problems at school. He had been in fights for sure, I remember, and he may have been suspended at some point. My parents actually didn't want me to go out that night because of the kid's reputation. Not heeding.
Just going down the street, just fucking windmilling shit. Like,
oh hell yeah!
Don't hang out with that kid.
Throwing
like,
fists.
why?
He's punching mailboxes. He's offending all the old women. He's a walking, talking hurricane. Not heeding my parents' advice, the four of us set out about Halloween. It was 1999. Halloween was on a Sunday. Around midnight, we noticed Justin had been walking behind us for quite a way, and he had run off somewhere. We couldn't see him anywhere around us. Not wanting to call any attention to ourselves so late on a school night, we didn't look for him. Fuck that guy. We figured he was in a mood or something and ran off home.
Just windmill it into the forest, bro.
Or windmilling cigarettes with his drink and drink with his older brother, who is another story. Then we heard a voice we immediately recognized as Justin's, coming from behind some bushes in an empty lot where we played football as kids. The bushes were rustling and we couldn't tell what was going on. He was mumbling something along the lines of, "Stop, fucking stop, keep your mouth shut." And we quietly argued amongst ourselves over what he was doing, and then Justin must have heard us because he stopped speaking, and the rustling stopped. he ran away in the opposite direction of us. We went over to the bush and saw a kid lying on the ground wearing a Homer Simpson mask.
Oh.
He wasn't moving. We asked him if he was okay, and he didn't respond. He didn't make a sound. We were all fucking terrified. Brandon took the kid's mask off, and it was Brad Smith, 6th grader in our town. His face was covered in blood. His eyes were bloodshot and blackened. He had bruises all over the place. He was barely breathing because Justin, the stupid shit, had been strangling the kid to death. To this day, I haven't seen someone so fucked up by another person. He needed to go to the hospital.
It's like a bad anime scene. This dude's still literally just windmill punching the fuck out of this kid's
Oh,
face.
hell yeah, dude. None of us had cell phones. Brandon and I stayed, and John ran home because he lived the closest. And not too long after John left, an ambulance and 2 town cruisers came to where we were. The paramedics rushed Brad off to the hospital, and the cops asked us what happened. And we told them. One of the cops gave me a ride home, the other gave Brandon a ride home. There was actually a cop on the way to Justin's mom's house. Justin had actually just run back there and was sitting in the living room watching TV when he was arrested that night. Brad died in the hospital. He was 12 years old. Murder. Justin was tried as an adult and put away for life, although it was likely he'd eventually be let out parole since he was so young. I want to stress that all 3 of us really tried to get this behind us. We didn't talk about it. The town stayed mum about it, but I knew they were talking about it behind our backs. It was really hard on our families. My parents still refused to talk about it. The next year, I got a job at a local haunted hay rack ride. Coincidentally, John and Brandon chose to get jobs at the same place, and we were admittedly pretty freaked out by this coincidence, but passed it off just as that. Since we knew each other, we volunteered to work the same area of the ride, which was supposed to be a team of 3 guys who would hide and surprise the hay rack riders. The job was an easy $20 a night. We would wait around in a little wooded area on a farmer's land. The hay rack would come by and we'd scare them. We brought cigarettes and beers to enjoy during the downtime. It was pretty simple work, enjoyable enough.
So you see, the $20 is made up for the getting fucked up.
I did it for free. When I was in high school, I was a scarer for a hayride for an entire season for free. It was just they gave me food every night, and I was only expected to do it for like 2 hours on like Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Okay. I'm always into like getting scared. I guess I've never volunteered or any of the sort. But
I did the scare acting before. It was very, very enjoyable. I really got in people's faces. It was a good time. On Halloween night, we had a 4th member. I swear to you, this is the damn truth. The first hayrack ride went through at about 6:30 and the sun was setting. We all sat on the few logs and cracked open a beer to share between the 3 of us. We shot the shit and tried not to talk about Justin. We all noticed him at the same time, a figure standing 50 yards away at the edge of the wooded area, not looking at us. He was looking past us. None of us said a word. He just stood there, acknowledging us. The next hayrack started to pass by, and we nearly missed it. We all got up from our logs and did a real half-assed job trying to scare the kids on the ride. And after the rack passed, the figure was gone. We didn't see him again for a couple of hours, and the last hayrack was coming through. We did our job and got ready to get the fuck out of there because we were all feeling pretty uneasy. We started making our way back to the entrance of the hayrack ride. Walking very, very fast, there is someone following me. On our way back, we realized someone was walking behind us. We turned around, and there he was again, the same figure as before. We were frozen.
Now you're scared now.
He spoke to us. "Where's Justin?" We didn't reply. "Where's Justin?" I said, "Justin's in fucking jail." And he stood there and stared at us, turned around and walked away in the opposite direction. We went to the entrance, all terrified shitless, but almost in disbelief. We were thinking we got pranked by someone. It was common knowledge in that town that we were the three that found Brad Smith the previous year, and some chicken shit kid knew that the three of us were working there and decided to scare us. We were absolutely certain of it. We asked the farmer who ran the hay rack ride if he saw a fourth person with us that evening, and he said, "Sure, the one with the cartoon mask."
No.
And this is an afterthought. The Red Baron posted, "I appreciate the courage it must have taken to write up all that, but what a fucking tease to get all through that." And then have you say, "Never mind, no ending too hard." This is a guy talking shit, and I just managed to copy it.
Okay, I was like, wait, what is happening?
Holy shit.
Wait, I want to read this.
Oh, no, this is his response now. "Sorry to the few people who replied
I was like,
to
wait,
my...
what the fuck is happening?
So he's responding to someone. "Sorry to the few people who replied to my story. I've been avoiding this thread since I wrote the first part a few days ago. I'm realizing now that it probably wasn't cool to edit out the ending, so I wanted to explain myself and explain what happened. The truth is that I experienced the deaths of 2 children when I was young. Here's my personal experience, which is the only way I can think of to convey the weight of what went on. I hope that will do Justice and Brad some justice. I feel like the original ending I had, just a line or two, didn't do that. While it had a severe impact on the whole town, including myself, I'm more concerned with showing respect for the 2 kids who lost their lives. Hopefully this is at least interesting to read. The farmer thought there was a fourth person with us, which really bothered us. After he told us that, we stuck around hoping to see that the kid would come up to the barn area, but he never did. We told the guy that the kid talked to us and was trying to scare us, so he dismissed it completely. He told us to forget about it and go home, and so we did, hoping it was just some asshole who ran off after scaring us. The next day, a rumor started circulating about Justin in prison. People were saying that he hanged himself during the night. Justin's parents put a funeral announcement in the local newspaper that week, confirming the story. I think John started telling people about our experience at the hay rack ride because a couple people asked me about it. I lied and told people it was made up, but really I just wanted people to stop talking about it. For about a week, I had a terrible recurring dream with Brad and Justin in them. After it happened twice, I decided to keep a dream journal to try and get over it. And I threw away the journal a long time ago, but I saved it in text format here, where I copy and paste it.
I secretly like the random side information. I'm just like, yes, tell me more.
Oh, totally. I'm digging the additions over time.
Yeah. It's like, here, I copy and pasted this. Also, I'm like, fucking yes.
I'm back in the field. No hay racks come through. I'm sitting on the stump, and Brad is here. He has his back to me. He's standing next to Justin. Justin is dead, hanging from a tree. I'm scared. I run back to the barn area. I'm back where we saw him before. I see the same scene with Brad staring at Justin dead. I look away while I run. Everywhere I look, I see Brad and Justin motionless. I go into the barn to talk to the farmer. There is no farmer. Justin is hanging from a rafter and Brad is standing next to him. I turn to run out of the barn and Brad is standing in front of me in the same mask I last saw him wearing. I'm frozen. I start sinking into the ground. Brad is sinking in with me. Chunks of the mask start falling off like flesh off the bone. We sink further. Brad's face slowly starts to emerge from under the deteriorating Halloween mask. His eyes and mouth are open. We keep sinking. The rest of the mask continues to fall off. I can smell it.
Yes.
We're up to our chins in mud and chunks of flesh.
Yes.
I'm up to my nose now. I see Justin being crucified. I wake up. I had that dream every night for 5 or 6 days.
That's gonna fuck you up there.
I went to Justin's funeral. John and Brandon didn't show up. The dreams stopped after that. I've gotten better about talking about it since then, but it's not happy to think about. I've never had the dream again, thank goodness. I don't know if I believe in ghosts, but this experience continues to chill me when I think about it. You offer the haunted hay rack some golf claps?
Yeah. I honestly, I would have been actually very pissed if I stopped reading this ad. Sure, the one with the cartoon mask. I'm like, fuck you, guy.
Fuck off,
but,
man.
Yeah, honestly, I like the little additions. Honestly, I don't think I would have liked that without the dream journal.
Well, that's how the forum works for you.
Yo, in it. I'll just take that over here and just a little shout this out to you.
That was good. I like the idea of his dreams are like a manifestation of the guilt that Justin experienced after having killed Brad, and then he killed himself. That's the type of story that could be incredibly true.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. But I mean, like, I think that's why it's good, though, that it was like the after effects. It was just like, oh, by the way, but blah, 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 something that happened to me. You're like, yo.
Well, I just like that he finishes the story.
Yeah, agreed. No, I enjoyed that. That could have been the worst.
We shall continue with the last story of the evening, which is by Sweet Octane, but that is an 8. So it's Sweet Octane. Sweet Octane wants to talk about his Ford Falcon.
Another Anubis, not hot but spicy. Acronym story for you?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. I gotta get in position now.
Oh, you take your time. You do you.
I just have to give my dad credit for the story. I'm typing exactly how he is telling it to me over the phone. I honestly think it is fake. It is just too horror movie-ish, but goddamn did it freak me out as a kid. I was and am a car connoisseur. Read that as a collector of old jalapenos.
Jalapenos.
Sure, jalapenos. Jalapenos.
Jalapenos.
And have no hope of ever working again. But what can I say? I enjoy collecting them. As a collector of anything, you begin to find other people as crazy as you. And I did. We always met at the Hardee's. Oh, I don't know why I just took that really weird. The Hardee's on the west side of town, and the sort of see who can get their piece of shit car there and back party. Doesn't that sound fun?
Yeah, Dad.
Can I get a Happy Meal?
It's a Hardee's, not a McDonald's.
I don't. Can I say that I've never been to a Hardee's? Are you gonna hate me?
No, it's okay. I don't think we have them over here either.
Also, I think honestly, like, we have a Culver's. I don't fucking know. Okay. I don't even know what a Hardee's is now. I'm gonna go. I need. Okay,
it's no a Hardee's. A Hardee's is probably just a little fast food joint.
Right? Okay, that's what I thought.
Like a Sonic.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Okay. At that time, I was driving a restored Fiat, the little Red Devil I called her, and had just driven up. All the regulars were there. We BS for a little while until this nasty old man came in. I mean, nasty. He smelled like a sewage plant. Was missing most of his teeth and fingernails. Jesus. His clothes looked like they hadn't been changed in 5 years. He was far past homeless level of nastiness. Even his face seemed to have a thick layer of mud shit death. All one word on it. Especially in its many deep cracks and grooves. Imagine my horror as he looked directly at me, then came up and rested his hands on my table, the table I was eating off of. You shitters, I know cars, he said. I typed that.
Phonetically.
I typed that phonetically to emphasize the accent Dad gives him. He proceeded to slide into the booth across from me. leaving oily handprints on the table. I had this car sitting in my front yard. God damn it. Been there since my wife, God bless her, died giving birth to that sack of shit son of mine. Ain't done a damn thing with this. I got this car in my front yard. This business has been there a while. It's yellow. This whole time, he was starting to restart his story. He was fiddling around with his many Vietnam jacket pockets until he produced a Polaroid and threw it down on the table, adding 2 more brown thumbprints to its already soiled rim. I pulled it over and looked at it, feeling a twinge of envy in my heart as I looked at the beautiful Ford Falcon sitting in a mountain of weeds. It didn't look like it had been there for long. It looked like it had just been driven in actually... Oh, God, I don't know why I said that word. Damn, that was a nice looking car. Yeah, so what? I responded, trying to sound as uninterested as possible. Just this man's smell was ruining my dinner, let alone his looks. I'll give it to you for free, like? All you gotta do is drive and pick it up. Just come pick it up. I'll even drive it to you. What? You just contradicted the hell out of yourself. He brought the keys out and laid them on the table. Or you can have someone else drive you there, I guess. He produced a single Ford key and laid it on the table, almost violently. Certainly used more force than required. I wasn't about to get into a car with a stranger, but there he was offering a free car to me. He said if I didn't take it... What?
You fucking idiot. Don't get into a car with strangers, dude.
God damn it. Not alone are you not getting in the car, but you're taking the car. He said if I didn't take it, he was going to leave the photo and the keys on the table. We came to an arrangement that I would drive my car home. A friend of mine, a big friend with a gun, would come pick me up and drive me to the car. When we asked him where it was, he simply turned the Polaroid over, revealing a miniature, crudely drawn map of cross streets with a little X on it. In the back of my mind, it registered that the cross streets were on a good and well-lit part of town. Good. My friend came to pick me up as planned, and we started heading off to the said Falcon. I fondled the Polaroid in my hand. Ooh. At the same time, I was afraid to touch the big oily thumbprints all over it. Something caught my eye. Did the photo just shift a little?
Ooh.
I played it back and forth in the light, but didn't see anything. But the damage was done. I shuddered as I remembered what I saw. A person in a white shirt, slumped over in the front seat. The white shirt stained red. We got closer and closer to the car. It was about 5 p.m. now. My friend and I were talking back and forth about how weird that guy was. Not scary weird, like a murderer or anything. Neither was he weird like a homeless person. Our town is full of them. They are usually pretty cool guys. This guy was just... nasty. So nasty. I now started to remember that back in my head, I had an almost physical response. The type of response that keeps deep in the subconscious and only resurfaces later. The thought, get the hell away from this man. Get away from everything that has anything to do with him. Except for the Falcon, I joked. As he pulled
and
up
that
to the
hubris will catch up to you. It will be your downfall.
I just want the free car. As we pulled up to the X, we were met with a slightly overgrown lot with a for sale by owner sign stuck in it. Probably for years, it was covered by vines and grass. There was a small loop bored into it, probably from people parking their cars or doing U-turns. That's where the Falcon was, sitting there, a glistening candy yellow. We walked cautiously around it. The word pristine seems to come to the mind. The car looked like it had suddenly appeared there right off of the lot. Nothing was wrong with it. We unlocked the car and I shoved my head in without thinking. It was instantly met with this horrible, noxious smell. So bad it was almost a liquid that had forced itself down my throat and nostrils. It was terrible. We opened up the doors and popped the trunk, partially to air out the car, partially to check for the nasty weird man. Nothing. I started her up, listened to that sweet, sweet sound of the well-maintained motor purring calmly under the hood, trying to ignore the prevailing stench of rotting meat coming out of somewhere in the car. The weird thing was we sniffed around in there, sniffed the seats, sniffed the air vents, and nothing in the car smelled specifically like it. It was like a scent was a separate entity that simply existed inside the car without actually touching anything. It sounds ridiculous, but it's the only way that I can describe it. We pulled out, my friend behind me, and started to head home. I've got to say, I'd forgotten about anything weird at this point. This car rocked. Even if it was stolen and he was trying to fence it, I didn't give a flying fuck. The police could have it if they wanted, but until then, I was going to drive the shit out of this thing. I haven't had the man's thumbprint who gave it to me, as I thought that I ran my hand along my pants pocket and pulled out the Polaroid, gave it a quick glance, then looked at the rearview mirror to check to see if my friend was behind me, and screamed. Looking back at me, or I guess I just looked at it, was the corpse of a woman with those huge blonde 60s curls, bright red lipstick, and an almost powdered white face, slumped against the back seat casually, looking off to the right with eyes that couldn't see anything, eyes that were dead. I took all this in a brief second before I panicked and hit the brakes and moved over to the shoulder, taking my eyes off the cadaver so that I didn't hit anything, but I could swear I could hear the body sliding across the seat and bump into the sidewall. As the car came to a stop, I jumped out and looked in the back seat. Nothing. My friend came to a stop behind me. I was prepared to defend the fact that I just saw a dead woman in the back seat. Prepared for him to call me crazy, but as he jumped out of his car with a pistol in his hand, he asked, "What the fuck? Who is in the back seat?" He saw it too.
Nice.
The guy had jumped, he thought the guy had jumped up from somewhere to murder me. A little extreme, I know, but he was a jumpy guy. We stood there a long time trying to figure out what to do. I did not want to get back into that car. Once again, that twinge deep in my brain, get the fuck away. Once again, I rejected and sat back down in the car.
God damn it!
Like, why? It also smells terrible. Just fucking trash it. It's fine. Ready to drive the rest of the way home, watching that fucking back seat the whole time. I would be get the big guy, leave the fucking car. You sit in the passenger seat with a gun.
Is made between confirmable by two people. You are dealing with something, my dude.
Yeah, legitimately. Okay. Jesus Christ. It was on the edge of a knife, or on nails, whatever the phrase is. But I made it home and parked the Falcon in my driveway, giving it a second glance as I got out. The type of glance you give someone you don't trust, or something you don't trust. My friend and I nervously joked about the incident. He drove back home and I made myself dinner and fell asleep watching TV, waking up suddenly from a gunshot. Was it a gunshot? I felt my heart racing. I tried to remember what I heard, then remember the TV was on. What fucking putz. It was some late night action movie. I heard the TV gunshot, that's all. Then I heard my neighbor scream. What?
Oh
no.
Then I heard my neighbor come.
Said neighbor was a wonderful, nice old Mexican woman. So,
See, Papi.
You see, Poppy, but do you know, Poppy? Okay. Said neighbor was a wonderful, nice old Mexican woman with a bazillion kids. That's concerning. So she was coming, and she made me damn good food. If someone was going to mess with my taco connection, giggity, that's sexual.
That's what I call my girlfriend. I call my girlfriend the taco.
My taco connection!
She loves it.
Oh my god. God. Put a little cheese on there, hey. Okay, I'm done here. They were going to get their head blown to pieces. Giggity, also. I grabbed my coach gun, giggity, from behind the couch. Okay, coach. Okay, now I'm just derailing myself. I hid it between the couch and the wall and walked outside loading it, nearly shooting the woman as she ran across the corner of my garage. Don't kill the taco connection!
No, lo siento.
I will leave out the part of me trying to understand her through her hysteria. But even though it was easy to tell what had happened, she had seen a woman, Marilyn Monroe she called her, dead in the back seat of the car. We both peered around the corner and looked at the Falcon, and were met with an empty back seat. Now, one thing was certain. I said it out loud, there in the dark. I have to get rid of this damn Falcon. Something is fucking wrong with it.
Duh.
Get rid of it, I did. I drove it to the auto auction the next day and got a nice bonus. Came up with a story about how I was late on payments. The girlfriend said we couldn't live in the car. A story easily believed by classic car collectors. And sold it to some poor, unexpected man and his son. Well, that's over, I thought to myself as I slapped my hands together, like I was cleaning dirt off of them. To celebrate my personal accomplishment of getting rid of that terrible car, I even invited a few of my friends over for a little party, not giving them a reason other than it had been a while since I broke loose. Not many people came in on short notice, only 3, but they were all good friends, and we had a good time. I went to sleep before they did because I had to go to work in the morning. I should mention right now that these 3 friends had absolutely no connection with the friend who followed me home. The night passed quickly. I fell right to sleep thanks to the copious amounts of alcohol I'd consumed. The next morning, I woke with a horrible headache, as one does.
Correct.
Went out in the living room and started making myself some eggs.
Nice.
My friends were comatose on the couche. I just want, because it's spelled that way, I just have to. I feel obligated. The couche. One was moving a little bit and opened one eye. Man, you didn't tell us you got a chick. Judging by those legs, she looked like a babe. Did she have a nosebleed or something? My stomach tensed up. I felt like I just swallowed a handful of ice cubes. All I could get out was a whimper. We came in there to prank you, but shaving cream on your hand. But we saw that girl laying next to you and thought you guys were, we didn't see anything or nothing. You were both under the covers. He winked at me. So, our blonde's really more fun.
Giggity. Interesting. Interesting story for the tail end of that not hot but spicy. I like the kind of slow burn again, creepy kind of just atmospheric horror. I'm a big fan of the stuff that doesn't try to get too in your face, too upfront and personal. I like the it's in the background and you're just not looking at it type of shit.
Yeah, I agree.
The fact that he only saw this thing once and then multiple people were like, dude.
Yeah, we're referencing 2 scenes.
It's just funny, Like it was corroborated multiple times. What do you do in that situation?
Honestly, honestly, if I ever saw something in my fucking backseat rearview mirror, I literally wouldn't even look. I would just swing a fucking arm and just dive out of the fucking car. I don't even care where the fuck I am. I'm out.
just tuck and roll.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Well, I wouldn't have even I wouldn't have even gone on the adventure to begin with. I don't trust creepy dudes who look like they just crawled up out of the ground,
I'll say, as somebody also that is in Denver, if a homeless person came up to me and was like, "Here's a car," I'd be like, that probably is not a key to a fucking car. You should probably leave. Yeah, we should just go. Somebody else can take that. I don't even care about the fucking car. Whatever.
So this was a not hot but spicy episode. How do you feel about it?
Honestly, that was fun though.
It's random, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's some random shit. It's good. It's good to mix it up every once in a while,
Yeah,
and that's what a
that.
Not Hot But Spicy does. You know. I feel like that's one of the more tame Not Hot But Spicy episodes I've ever done. I tend to only read like the one-page super fucking stupid ones with my brother. That's all. I remember a couple good ones with Tom Bombadil and a bunch of baby ducks, but I really, really only remember the short, fucking stupid ass ones I read with my brothers.
Well, honestly, I kind of knew that was kind of the jurisdiction of Not Hot But Spicy as well, and I kind of like things that are like super serious, and then just have like if you're gonna like troll me, you know what I'm saying, like troll me good, you know what I'm saying, like just do something stupid.
Which Not Hot But Spicy absolutely has in the past. There are some genuinely good troll ones. Like there's one in like the second or third time I read Not Hot But Spicy with my brothers, where literally the story was like, it's like, we went up to a house in the middle of the night and it was haunted and we were all gay.
Yeah.
You know,
like,
like
just
it's
like, and then we opened the door and there was just a bag of dicks.
right.
You're like, oh, okay,
Right.
all right, cool.
And
Good
then
job.
we went home the next day and nothing significant happened because the house was gay.
You're like, God damn it.
Yeah, you only end up reading like a page, so the commitment is there, you know, but you absolutely get rickrolled. I remember there was also one in like the first episode where we literally just read the plot of a movie. You know, like someone just thought they'd tell a story
premiere.
and then it finds out to be like literally the plot of like a 1970s B movie. Like
is that radio? Is that your frequency? What?
frequency, right.
You're contacting your dad through a radio? What?
I had a lot of fun, Glitch. It was nice
No,
to
I
see
agree.
you,
That was
nice to
actually-
reconnect. We were
Yeah,
playing
like
some
I said, it's been a minute.
Phasmophobia before we hopped in. It was good to see those updates, good to play that for a little while.
Still a very bad / good game.
I feel like we definitely need to game more. So I'll be in touch about that. It probably won't be recorded or anything, because I'm too busy
chill.
recording other shit. But I'm still down to just game, you know.
I mean, either or, on or off. We gotta play some fucking Labyrinthine. 'Cause
Oh,
they
I
a
did.
little bit
I
of an
did.
update, too. Yeah.
Fun fact for all listeners: I did make a Twitch for
Oh.
Lots of Pasta. I'm pretty sure it's just under LP Captain Death. I didn't stockpile it, like I didn't save it, but I've been playing Void Bastards.
Oh, word. It's a very
and-
interesting game.
And I enjoy it for the most part.
Yeah,
I think
oh,
I
wow.
recorded once or twice of just like an hour and a half playthrough of Void Bastards each time, and I'm getting nowhere because I keep making terrible decisions. So if anyone is interested in following me on Twitch, I will be up there more. I just have to figure out better things that I can stream on the computer as opposed to like editing and putting it on the YouTube. That's something I'm still getting used to, but something I'll probably follow up with like you about.
Yeah. Do you have a certain day you stream or not?
No, there's no
Just kinda like-
schedule. I
kinda
was
just
just
sound
bored.
whatever.
I was just bored the one day, and I realized that I never actually set up the Twitch TV studio with my OBS, and
see.
I connected the two, and I decided as like a test the one day I would just play like an hour of Void Bastards because they were giving it for free
Nice.
on the one store.
Epic or whatever.
On Epic, yeah. And I have a lot of stuff on Epic. Like, I remember one of the first things I streamed on Twitch was Sludge Life, which I got for free
Nice.
on Epic, which I highly recommend just as a little, like, $10 experience. Sludge Life is literally a vibe. It's an attitude. Highly recommend to anyone who's looking to have, like, just a fun little dope experience, a psychedelic experience, if you will, in video game format. But Void Bastards isn't too far behind because it's kind of emulating a old school like sci-fi comic
Yeah.
book and it feels like you're playing like old Doom, old Duke Nukem, like fucking Chex Quest up in the house, you know. but it's super entertaining, and that's the novelty of that. Now there isn't a story. You're just kind of completing missions, going from place to place.
Crew and stuff.
And you're cataloging things, and that's about it. I don't think it's something I'm gonna like continue to play on that channel, but I wouldn't be surprised if I just pop on at other times. So if you have a Twitch, or if you like to watch Twitch, maybe give us a follow. You might be surprised to get an email one day saying LP Captain Death is live. With something random like Phasmophobia with Glitch, or Labyrinthine with a bunch of people. You know, I'm totally willing to put like anything up there that doesn't need the scrutiny of my editing prowess for YouTube. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
And honestly, you can just like, because you have 2 devices, you could just sign into your stream and just save your video from Twitch. And just throw that shit up on YouTube, sad note.
Also true. So definitely something I can do. Anyway, just be on the lookout for that shit. Like I said, like I mentioned already, go check out our YouTubes. We have Dead Space coming out for Halloween. I know that there is some other stuff that's still on there. Like Glitch mentioned, I was playing through A Way Out with Deputy Dewey. My first playthrough was Luigi's Mansion with Tenron Otrin.
Just motherfucker breaking down the raps over here.
And there are a couple episodes of our first go-through of Phasmophobia in which Glitch is a guest on, I believe, the second and even third episode, I believe. Yeah. Good times, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. Like you said, it really has been a fucking minute.
But I appreciate the flexibility and the randomness that we've embodied in this week's episode. I hope you have some fun Halloween plans, man. You know, I'll be in touch as the season gets spookier. Maybe we'll do some more stuff together. I wish you the best, my dude.
Cheers. Say till next time.
Till next time, my brother.
I wait till the day's end when the moon is high, a little rise with the tide, with the lust for life out. Unless an army or a heart is a horde, and then we'll look across the land until we stand at the shore. I'll wait till day's end when the moon is high, and then I'll rise with the tide, with the lust for life out. Unless an army or a heart is a horde, and then we'll look across the land until we stand at the shore.